All right, we are live in studio another Sunday afternoon. So, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, we're so happy, we're so delighted, we're so excited for another Sunday conversation with Real Talk with Ian and Ian. Today is a special episode because we're just gonna bring you back. We're gonna. I know you see a lot of track and field athletes, and so now we're on the field of the athletics. So we got one of the rising star and one of the Olympic hopeful for 2021. He has big dream. He's going to tell you about it. So also so delighted to have a special guest co-host today. He is also familiar to the Olympic platform. He has competed in two Olympics, Barcelona, Atlanta. He's also an author, and he's an educator, and he's from one of the greatest high school in the world, St. Elizabeth Technical High School. So
Yes.
welcome, Dennis, to the platform. Please introduce yourself, and then we'll move on to Chuck.
Yes. Thanks. I appreciate the fact that I am able to be a part of this program. I also believe that this program is a great platform for exposure. That's one of the things that is lacking with a lot of athletes, and I think Real Talk with Ian and Ian is a great place to really get exposed. And for the wonderful guests that you have had me on here before, and to hear about other athletes and what they have been through and how where they're coming from and where they are now and where they're heading. It's a great testament for a lot of people who might want to take part in track and field. So thanks for having me.
All right, so guys, I'm gonna let the man introduce himself. He probably has been training and due to COVID and all that stuff. But Chuck, give me a little 90-second version about just tell us your name and you just a little bit about you. Just 90 seconds.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. Chukwuebuka Enekwechi. So I was born and raised in America to Nigerian parents. So I'm a dual citizen. Chose to represent Nigeria in 2016 after I graduated college, and I've been throwing professionally ever since. I coach high school on the side, and I'm just hoping to make it to the Olympic Games.
All right, awesome guys. So you hear the voice, you heard from the man himself. We got a lot of history to talk about. And for all the viewers that's tuning in right now, if you have a question, please type it in the comment. I will try to get your question to Chuck. So please free to interact and as much as you want. So as usual, we're just gonna go back again. Everyone knows me. I'm Ian Weekly, and I competed in the Olympics, and just for the passion for athletics and for everything that athletics have provided me. I just want to use this platform to educate people and viewers and students and just all kind of professionals. So we want to educate, motivate, and to inspire someone. So anyone that might watch this video, it might be 2 months, next year, 3 years. We hope that this video, this program, this platform, you'll be able to learn something that that could inspire you in so many ways, because the goal is always to share your testimony with someone, because you might be able to help someone that might be in the same situation. So Chuck, we're going to go back. Obviously you grew up in New York. As I said, you're from a Nigerian parent. Just tell us, how different was that, knowing that you grew up in New York and went to high school? Was there any difference in terms of you compared to, say, for instance, in America, than growing up from a Nigerian parents? How different is that, or it's the same?
Well, I can't tell. All I know is growing up in a Nigerian household. So that's my only kind of point of view, or that's where my worldview comes from. Um, I don't think it's very different. It's just I would assume that Nigerian parents are a lot more disciplined, due to, their background and certain things that Nigerians place value on, especially somebody who was born and raised in Nigeria. Those values may be different than the values of, like, an American. So I think those are some differences, but I'm speaking hypothetically because that's my only point of experience.
All right, awesome. So, well, just let's talk about your early days. Tell us exactly, when did you get into athletics? What age did you start, and how did you actually who introduced you? How where does that early influence came from?
So I think I started relatively late. That was my sophomore year of high school when I was 16 years old. And I think every young man wants to play a sport or be a part of a sport. It doesn't matter what sport it is, just whatever's available. So I knew I wanted to do a sport, but I didn't know quite what it was. So I wasn't that interested in basketball or football, but I always loved wrestling. So when it came time to sign up for teams and stuff, I was in gym class, and I was thinking it was either track and field or wrestling because those are individual sports. At least I'd be in charge of how I do and things like that. Like it falls on my shoulders. So coincidentally, the track coach came up to me. He was looking for kids to recruit and handed me a medical form to fill out, and there was no tryout. So even as I signed up for it, I didn't know what a shot put was. So I agreed to do it just to be on the varsity team. And my real motivation was to be able to get into the weight room and lift some weights. You couldn't do that unless you were on the varsity team. So I think those two things kind of came together. I joined the team, and then I think it was pure happenstance that the track coach was looking for somebody to join, and I was looking for a team to get on, and it just kind of worked. A week later, I was practicing.
All right, awesome. Pretty much, we got a question from Philip, but I pretty much think that's the same question I just asked you. He pretty much he's one of the number one track fanatic in the world. He pretty much has photograph and pictures of every world record holding Olympic base. So Philip is over there in the UK. So we want to give Philip a shout out. I know that he hasn't got a chance to meet you as yet, Chuck, but trust me, when you get to the UK, you're gonna come across so much track fan, and sometimes it's just hard. You don't really keep up with the face, but so that took care of that. Okay. Um, One more question before I go over to Mr. Dennis Blake. Chuck, before I get into anything, I want you just to tell us. Obviously, your name is an important thing to you and for your parents. So, just to tell us a little bit about the meaning of your name.
Yeah. So my first name means God is great, and my last name Enekwechi means waiting for what God brings, or waiting for our blessings. And those are very important names. That's almost why I prefer people to either say it correctly or don't say it, because you don't say it like close. It's not like horseshoes. So it's a very important name to me. I also don't like when people sing it because it's my name. So, but yeah, that's the meaning of the name. And I think something that's funny is that Nigerian names, or I think many foreign names, they're so long because they're actual sentences, or they're stories or testimonies. So that explains the length of it. But I think once you break it down like phonetically, it kind of makes sense even to a foreign speaker.
Okay. Well said. And I am definitely feeling you 100%, especially the meaning of your name. It's very important to get it correctly, because you won't, when you're talking about, God is great, you really want to make sure you say.
Yeah. Yeah,
All
exactly.
right. All right. Over to you, Dennis.
All right, Chuck. So you specialize in uh, one of the most unappreciated disciplines, right? I'm sure many athletes would agree that you guys don't get the recognition like if you were on the track running as an individual event.
Mhm.
Um, But
sure.
that is not all. That is not the only field event. Tell us what the others are. What are some of the other events that you participated?
So in the past, I've thrown the discus. I threw the javelin in high school. I was pretty good at the hammer and the weight throw, which is it's not an international event, but that's one that was actually my best event that I stopped when I graduated and picked up the shot put professionally. So,
So what was it? What was it? What was it that make you decided that the shot put is where I'm going to focus most of my energy, as opposed to hammer, considering you were so good at it?
well, the that was the conversation I had in 2016, early 2016. So I was focused on the hammer more so. So during a training week, I'll have maybe 2.5 days of shot put and 3 days of hammer, or sometimes 50-50. And the qualifying standard for the hammer throw was 75 meters, and I was at 72, 77. And in the shot put, it was 20-50, and I was at 19-50. So I
Mm,
looked at the numbers. It would be easier to gain the 1 meter in a shot put, the shorter throw event, than to
mm,
gain the, almost 3 meters in the hammer throw, the long throw event. That's the more finesse event. So it in the shot put, it's not that simple, but your gains in the weight room will show up in the ring faster than say the hammer throw or any of the longer throws. So that was kind of my mindset.
and I know you might have brushed over this a little bit before, but while you were at Francis Lewis High School, you won two city championship and
Mhm.
was the 2012 USA youth champion in the shot put. But
Mhm.
was it at that time you realized that you actually have a talent, and this is something that you're good at and you should pursue it?
Yeah, it was. Honestly, I was late to the recruiting party. I was I was not a highly sought after recruit. If you look at my profile, my first meet was I threw 37 feet in the shot put. At the end of the year, I threw 48, and then at the end of the next year, I threw 53. And they don't start recruiting people unless they're at or around 60 feet. So it
Mm.
was my first throw of my senior year that I threw 60 feet 1 inch, and that's when all the schools started writing me. But by then, all the money was gone to the kids that were
Oh,
throwing for as juniors. So I was good. I tell people I was good for like 3 months. So that's when all the letters came in, and I had to make a choice. And it wasn't a long list of schools that had money to offer, but they were all interested, which is good. But it was just a couple that had some funds remaining. So and it's something I totally understand because the timing just didn't work out, but we made the best of it.
hmm. All right, one more question before I turn it over to Ian. Help us understand. You started your track and field career during your sophomore year, right?
Mhm.
Tell us what happened when the school track and field coach Ralph Mont what was his name? Ralph, what was it?
Montanero.
Montanero.
Yeah.
He pulled you from your gym class. Was it something
Uh,
that he? Well, it must have been something that he saw in you, your talent. Was it?
no, 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 no.
Was it something?
To be honest, I was a heavier kid, and high school track coaches recruit fat kids to throw shot put. That's the beginning and the end of it. To be honest, that's they saw a kid that's like 200 pounds and said, "Hey, let's see if you can throw the ball."
Oh, okay, okay. All
I
right,
wish there was a bigger story. That was that's all it was.
over to you, Ian.
All right. So, you got another New Yorker here, Alian Pompey. She actually grew up over in New York, Guyanese. I know
Mhm.
you probably have you guys go to the armory so much that
Yeah.
it's not much place to compete. So let's talk a little bit about your high school career in terms of your accomplishment. I know you said you was a late starter, but what back then, what were your inspiration? What actually, did you know about the event at all, or just, I know you said you was focusing on the throws, but actually, what was your first sport?
Track and field.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
that was the first sport.
okay, awesome. So to back to what I was asking you, just back in high school, I just said you was pulled out, and well, that was Purdue, but just want to figure out, just highlight your high school career, in terms of your accomplishment, and what were some of the challenges that you faced while you was in high school?
So some of my accomplishments, every time I went to the Queensborough Championship, so I think that's like a county championship, I got first place. So the first year I threw 45.8. The next year I threw, I want to say 48. And that last year I threw 52.11, qualified for the city championships. I threw 52 plus there as well, and then qualified for the state championships. I got fifth place, and I threw 53.5. Then the next year, I didn't go to the state championship. I was actually only on the track team for the part of the indoor. And oh, correct. No, correction. I went to the state championship, won that with 62 feet 4 inches, and then after that, I was off the team. Funny story. And the outdoor season, that's when I started the hammer throw. But at the end of that year, I threw the weight and got second place at nationals with 75.8.
Okay, okay. So I gotta ask you, did you ever run on the track? Did you ever try it out for
I
any
did.
track?
I did a couple times. I ran 100. I ran a 200,
No.
and
Okay.
I don't even know my times, but they were not promising at all. It was
Okay.
the only reason we run those was because there's no shot put at the events.
Okay, okay. Well, I mean, I like seeing the field event athletes when they run. I think you guys are very it's fun. I mean, I just think that it's a different type of sprinting, but obviously, it's funny. People always do many different events until they actually got the event. So, so that's pretty cool. But I know I came across you looking like you was running 100 meter back in high school. Yeah. So just tell us about some of while you was in high school. I just want you to give a shout out to your coaches, some of the people that actually was your early coaches and teachers back down in high school, in back to New York.
Yeah. So my high school coach, well, coaches, I should say, one was Ed Fox, and he was just an official. He volunteered to help me, and taught me some things that I wasn't getting from the high school coach. So he helped a whole lot. But I think my biggest influence was Jean Joseph Rahman, and he actually passed away this past January. But he was a great influence. He took me from throwing 53.5 with a full glide to stand throwing 55 feet. And so I threw 60 feet 1 inch and started getting recruited, by all these schools. That was the meet in December. I started working with him in November. So he showed me single-handedly how to execute the shot put. It got to the point where he decided that I'd probably be too small to throw the shot put in college, that I picked up the hammer. So the whole reason I threw the weight was to throw the hammer, and I had no intention of going to college to throw the shot put. So he was the one that kind of started putting in my head that I can go to college and get school paid for, and he said I could be an Olympian also. So that, of course, I couldn't see that happening in 2010, but yeah. So those are two of my biggest influences in high school.
All right, all right. So great. So we're gonna move on. I just want to talk about the opportunity that you have received to go to college. Do you remember some of the letter of intent that you received from school that was interested in you at the time, and why did you choose Purdue?
Like names of schools?
Yeah,
There's quite a few
universities.
schools. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arizona State was interested, Michigan was interested, Michigan State was interested. All great schools. University of Buffalo was one of them. Obviously Purdue. Then there were some Division II and Division III schools that were interested as well. But I think those are some of the bigger names that were sending me letters and really interested, trying to get me out to a visit.
Okay. So I know when this process was coming, how did you, with your parents, how did you guys, how much of the decision were you, how did you guys sit around that table talk to say, look, this is why I want to go to Purdue? And what was the main thing that said, look, this is the school that I want to further my education?
So I know for my dad, it was Purdue. Purdue is such a big name school academically. So as soon as he heard Purdue, he was like, it's almost like, why are they interested in you? Like, it's not in a rude way, but it's like it's almost like an Ivy League that's not an Ivy League. So that's the appeal to him. And my mom was just gonna kind of go with whichever I felt comfortable with. So I think it came down to Purdue and Buffalo. Those were the last two that actually had finances to offer me, and we wound up going with Purdue after I took the visit.
Okay.
So I took the visit. I saw, I'm from, like I said, I'm from New York City, so we don't have indoor tracks and stuff like that. Even throwing outdoors is tough because it's such a highly congested area in Queens. So when I saw Lambert Fieldhouse on campus, I saw Rankin Field, which was, right outside campus. It's walking distance. I think I was sold automatically. So.
Oh, all right. So we're going to talk a little bit about your freshman year. We know that coming from high school, and especially for you leaving home, let's talk about how difficult was that for you, your transition, leaving home, just finally getting to be a little bit more independent, and then how was the transition, just going to from high school to college?
It was pretty hard because where I'm from, a lot of people don't go to college for with sports scholarships and stuff like that. So they would go through the CUNY system or the SUNY system, City or State University of New York. So with me as a transplant from Queens into the middle of West Lafayette, Indiana, it was a little bit strange. So I know a lot of my teammates had friends from high school, or if you grew up in Indiana, you knew people from the Midwest, like Meet of Champions and stuff like that. I didn't have any of that, and it's not what was me. It's just it's something I knew I was going to encounter, and my goal was to make my teammates my new kind of circle of friends, and just have the coaches have my back and stuff like that. So my freshman year, I think it was a bit tough. I knew what to expect, and it was quite as difficult, but at the end of the day, it worked out. So I'd go to classes, I'd go to practice, and I was so focused on the athletic performance that the distractions never really took its toll on me. So, and then during the holidays, I'd always go home to see my family. So that's that helped me with the stress. But it was a stressful transition. But going home to see family, resetting, and then getting back to work was that was my new routine.
Okay. And I'm gonna rewind back a little bit because just tell us a little bit about I know if you have any siblings in terms of just brothers and sisters, and how much when you guys, I know, just growing up together, and it was time for you to leave and go to college, and how was that?
Yeah, it was hard, especially with my little brother. So my older brother is 2 years older. My older sister is a year older, and then my little brother is 6 years younger than I am. So that was kind of like my little project. Someone would listen to me in the house, that kind of thing. So we have a really really tight bond even till now. So he even took up shot putting when he graduated high school. So that was the hardest one, but I've stayed in contact with my siblings, and it's not a problem. But they're older than me and they're cooler than me. They have stuff to do, but my little brother still looks up to me. So leaving, I used to cry before I left. I wouldn't, but nobody would see that. But now I'm kind of a tough guy about it. But Yeah, my little brother was the hardest to leave.
Okay, all right. All right, yeah. So that's it's always very difficult just growing up together and just with, as I said, just the close connect and just having someone to play with, and it's always interesting to figure out. I grew up with roommates, and I spent went to a boarding school, and it just used to be four of us in one room,
Mm.
and he used to be very, 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 you know, we never have a problem about space, and we didn't have enough space, and I just don't know how, now that I have all this space, I just don't know how I did it. But those days helped me to. I could survive in pretty much any situation, so we give thanks for
Mhm.
that. All right, Dennis. Over to you.
All right. So I you did something that that I always do, and that is you pose in your bathroom mirror. How did that help you? Because that is something I can relate to.
You mean as far as um,
Trying to
the
show.
athletic? Oh yeah, I mean,
Back in my time, I would go after training sometime, even before I take a shower, I would do some back dips and all that type of thing. But one thing I always do is run actually my full race, the 400 meter. I would run that even before I go into the shower, and I is act and I everything about the 400, I would do it in the mirror. So
sure.
you pose. Tell us a little about how that worked for you.
Yeah, just the visual feedback. Some of us are visual learners, and even if we feel something, it still has to connect with what we're seeing. So I
Mhm.
think some of that helps with the coordination. And I tell other people to kind of do their drills, or even flex the muscles for so you have that mind body connection. Do it in the mirror, and it will help athletically. At least it helped in my case. So yeah, that was definitely a part of it.
Okay, good. 4 days a week, you take 2 hour trip, two trains, one
Yep.
bus from school in Fresh Meadows, Queens, to 168th Street in Manhattan to the Armory
Yep.
Track and Field Center to train. Now, we know that takes a sense of dedication and a high level of commitment. What was the
Sure.
driving force that propelled you to commit and to
Uh,
doing something that consistently doing something like that? Tell us where that drive came from.
yeah, I wanted to do better. So when I joined the team, the coach was saying that I could be a Queensboro champion, and I didn't know what that took. To win Queensboro's was maybe at the time 40 feet, and my first meet was at 37 feet. So I wanted to be a city champion, and then after that, I wanted to be a state champion, and then I wanted to be a national champion. And I figured that the only way to do it was to go with somebody who, first of all, was interested, knew what they were talking about, and was going to get me there. And that person was Jean-Joseph Roman, who was at the Armory. So I almost didn't even think anything of it. I just, if that's what it took, I'll take those, two trains and a bus to the Armory and get my training in, and then come home, do some homework. And I like, by the time it was a routine, it was just no big deal. Now, when you look at it, that's dedicating, 4 hours plus of travel and stuff. And even when I tell the story now, it's like, I don't know how the heck I did that, because it takes a lot of motivation. But at the time, I just wanted to do the next thing, and that was either winning city or winning state or winning nationals. So that was a driving factor.
Okay, great, great. So you talk about, I guess, coached by um Roman,
Mhm.
right? But he has a very different technique. Tell us about
Yeah,
that technique. Yeah, tell us about that
yeah.
technique, because that technique is not something that a lot of coaches use, and some coaches might say, "Well, that is not the way we do that. But tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so Coach Joe, I call him Joe, and
Mhm.
he's a Frenchman, but he grew up in the Ukraine. So that Eastern European area, all they knew was the glide. They didn't know the rotational shot put at all. So um, Joe would just teach me the glide. He taught me how to refine the glide. And we even experimented a little bit with the rotation, but I was always gliding farther. And of course, at that point, I was in my senior year. So we switched the focus over to the hammer and weight throw. So I'm sure if I started maybe a year earlier, I would have been rotating like the American technique. But at the time, we just needed to get stronger, which, I'm 18 years old. So that natural progression is going on anyway. And his main focus was, let's get me in the ring to throw the hammer, because that's what I'm going to be most likely getting a scholarship for.
Mhm. Yes, yes. I know we touched a little bit about college. So while competing for Purdue University, you throw the shot put, the discus,
Mhm.
and the hammer. And like you
Mhm.
said before, you do some weight. Why did you decide? When was it that you decided on it actually click for you that shot put is really the area that I should pay more attention as opposed to the hammer? Because I mean we kind of touch on it a little bit, but in college most of the time they want you to do 3 or 4 events.
Mhm.
um, did you end up doing more than one event, or did you just stick to the shot put?
So my main events were either the hammer or the weight throw. That's, depending on indoor, outdoor, and then the shot put next to it. Now, the reason I didn't do another event was because those marks were good enough to win or get second at every conference championship. So that was kind of, coaches want the points, and especially in the Big Ten, um, if I had split my focus on a third event, that might have taken away from the two that I was in first or second place contention for. So, for example, I won 3 of the 4 Hammer Big Ten meets I went to.
Hmm.
And, if I was trying to throw discus in addition to the shot put, especially being 5'10", 5'11", and 240 pounds, compared to, again, some of the best throwers in the NCAA system, best coaches, biggest guys because they're from the Midwest, it really didn't make sense. So that was kind of a calculation that the coaches made to where, let's focus on one major event, which would be the weight throw or the hammer, and then get the shot put far enough, which would be like between 62 and 66 feet, so we can score anywhere from 10 to 18 points and kind of maximize my potential.
I have a follow up with that. I know you train with Roman at the armory, right?
Mhm.
And he kind of mold you into his technique, the technique that he knows. But then when you went to college, Matt Bright,
Yeah,
he take you and like change that whole technique that you have. He break you down and then build you up. Tell us,
yeah.
just expound on that for us.
So, as far as the shot put goes, I was gliding, and then we had to switch to the rotation, and it goes back to my dimensions. I showed up on campus, I was like 220 pounds. I haven't grown since I'm like 5'10", 5'11". So that 16-pound ball, it's different than the 12-pound ball. You're not going to glide and push it. You have to spin. And I had no concept of the spin. In fact, at the time, I was holding the ball down here like the big Europeans would. So, with the rotation, you have to hold it back here. Everything was totally different. But if I was going to continue throwing, I had to adapt. So, and again, I was lucky enough. Coach McBride and Coach Warner decided to redshirt me, which never happens. But they decided that by the end of year 5, I'd be better than at the end of year 4. And I think the marks prove that at least in the shot put. So I took that redshirt year, learned the rotation. I gained about 20 pounds of muscle, and even the weight throw. So I was just learning the weight throw as I was a senior. So I was using only 2 turns when I threw 75 feet. So we had to add a third turn, which wasn't ready till my sophomore year. But I learned that third turn, the weight goes from 25 to 35 pounds. So that was a whole nother world. And then in the hammer, I was using 3 turns because I was only doing it for 1 season. We had to add a fourth turn. And I'll give myself credit that I was really almost obsessed with picking up those new techniques. So when the coaches would be away at track meets and stuff, I'd be thrown by myself. And in practice, I'd be asking questions. I'd be not only doing what I was supposed to do or what I thought I was supposed to do, but I'd ask why. And when I'd ask why, it's not to challenge a coach or anything. It's just that intent makes a difference. So it's one thing to just do what you're told to do. It's another thing to know why you're doing it. And knowing why you're doing it would actually help. And that's something I'm seeing with my coaching. So I try to explain to the kids and tell them, hey, ask me questions. If I don't know the answer, which doesn't happen too often by the time you're a coach, I'll go look it up. But, you have to know what you're supposed to do and why you're supposed to be doing it. And that's something I was lucky enough to kind of just want to do, because I'd watched, Reese Hoffa and Adam Nelson and Christian Cantwell in the early 2010s. I'd watch them throw the ball really far. I didn't know what I was looking at, but I was thinking, I can imitate them and not know why I was doing certain things, and it just wouldn't work. But if I knew what I was trying to do, then it would probably work. So I took advantage of, my opportunity working with D1 coaches, and I think it paid off.
Absolutely. Over to you, Ian.
All right, thanks, man. So, guys, you're hearing some real history for you. A lot of you guys, I know Chuck is, he try to keep his fans and entertain, and he's a very competitive guy that he gets into his event, which is always excited just to not to let the whole thing boring. So he's really I think all the other competitors like competing against him because he just brings a certain energy, to that. But we'll talk some more about that you know in a little bit. So Chuck, let's talk about your college days a little more in terms of your career path. What did you actually study in college, and why did you go down that route? And what's your plans in terms of your career in the future?
Yeah, so I started with I was just in a general liberal arts college, and then I switched over to law and society. So that was after meeting with an academic advisor, and he kind of explained to me what the opportunities were, and picked up the minor of organizational leadership and supervision. And it was basically a pre-law track, but by the time I got to senior year, I was like, that's that's a lot. So yeah, but the whole time I've been interested in coaching at a collegiate level. So the main thing for my parents was get a certificate, get that degree, and then at least have options. Once this thing is done, because it's going to be done one day. So, but I do want to coach the collegiate level. So I've started my certifications for that. I'm coaching high school currently, and that's the plan for now. Plan A.
All right, guys. So just to, for you guys to hear that Chuck is gonna be a future Hall of Fame coach. He he's now looking to add to his collection. From all the medals that he have won. I know that he's gonna tell you about his goal. But I know for many athletes, their goal is to win a medal in every major championship. If you can win a medal in every championship, that it's something that you will bring to you. You will add to your resume for your entire life. So we're going to talk about his college resume before we move on to that. So just tell us a little bit about how much did you accomplish in college in terms of I know you was doing 3 events in college, and I still think you could be a good hammer thrower too. But obviously, when you get to the professional level, you got to specialize in one event, because it's just too much. But in college, I don't know if there's been another athlete like you that was able to do the shot, the disc, and the hammer. In one season, and you could correct me if I was wrong in that. But just tell us a little bit about how you was able. Well, when in the younger days, I know that you don't worry too much or think about it. You just kind of enjoy it. But how much were you able to accomplish in each event? What was your biggest accomplishment to you competing for Purdue University?
Mm.
I'm sorry, I lost the last bit of that question.
What was your most memorable accomplishment competing for Purdue?
There's a few of them. I think my last NCAA was the most memorable because from 2015 on, they started to do hammer and shot put on the same day, which made it exponentially more difficult. In fact, that's how I hurt my back the first time, was trying to do both, and it didn't work out. But by senior year, I was more focused on the shot put than anything, but I was still a 70-meter hammer thrower. So that morning I threw like 69 really high, got something to eat, came back, and then tied my PR in the shot put, which was 20:37. I tied it to the centimeter on the last throw. So
Okay.
I did a jump in toe touch and stuff. So that was a really memorable event for me.
All right.
But there've been a few others. I've thrown 80 feet with the weight, which is 24 meters 39, and very few. I think 4 NCAA athletes have done that.
Okay.
So that was a huge moment. Did that as we're getting ready for the NCAA meet, and even at that meet, I threw 79 and a half and got third because it was the best competition in history. So those were some very memorable moments, my junior and senior years.
Okay. So just looking back at your collegiate career, was there anything that you thought that you could have done different? Just looking back at things now to get even more, to perform better.
So that's tricky because the events that I didn't really favor each other at all. Hammer didn't really work with shot, and shot didn't work with weight and things like that. So, for example, when I threw that 80 feet that I just mentioned, we were trying to qualify for the NCAA championship in the shot put. At the time, I think I was 17th, and they take top 16. So I hadn't thrown weight in about a week trying to prepare for that. But I feel like if I had thrown the weight, I might have been pushing 25 meters because sometimes you get into a rhythm, which is hard to explain, but like everything you touch will just go far. And sometimes maybe you get into that rhythm when you're running to where your times are faster than they should be. So I was kind of there in the weight, and at the upcoming meet, we opted not to throw the weight and threw the shot put so we could qualify. So I guess there's a regret there because I know I would have likely thrown a PB, but at the same time, being a team player, you have to score for the team. So it's better to be at nationals for 2 events than to be at nationals for 1 event. That's more opportunities to score. And that's something I knew then, and that's why it's not really a regret. And at the end of the day, I walked away with, I wanted to throw 80 feet, and I threw 80 feet and a quarter inch. So I think God was telling me something.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a tricky question here. So tell us a little bit about what you have learned from the Chuk in high school to the Chuk in college. In terms of what you have learned about yourself.
About myself, man. It's gonna sound bad, but I feel like I got it right pretty early.
Okay.
There's not too much because the way I zone in on things, that started from way back, from when I was dancing to when I picked up throwing, and then before I knew it, I was going, 4 hours almost on a daily basis to go train. And at that point, I didn't know very much about the sport, but it's something I like, and when I like something, I really zone in on it. It's helped me through injuries, I think. So I think I call it an obsession almost, but it's just drive. You can call it whatever you want, and I think that same drive is what's helped me come back from some serious injuries, and has kept me focused. I have not gotten in trouble. So just that same kind of tunnel vision. That's something I've had since since I started when I was 16.
All right,
Not too
all
much
right.
has changed, just the environment.
Well, that's awesome. I wish I could say that. It's very, very, it was a stepping stone. Learning from just mistakes, and just trying to figure things out on my own. From my perspective. So, there's a lot of things I would have done different, but I try now, to this stage of your life, moving on to the second half, you try to make sure that you some of those similar things, you make better decision.
Yes.
So that was awesome for you. I very, very, very every parent should be happy to hear that. It just tells us that your parents did a great job.
I think they did.
Yeah, to from early to get you to get your priorities and focus on. So just to wrap up your collegiate career, so how was it like? What did you learn from a team perspective? Coming from high school, now you was on a team. You was having more support. What did you learn in college about just competing and the support that you have got? How much change and how much develop did you really see, and how much did that help your performance? And because I know that you actually going to be a coach one day, on a bigger level.
hmm So one of the biggest things for me, and the kids I coach will tell you, um, I value friendship a whole lot. So one thing I know is that some coaches might try to like drum up like drama or inner competition within the athletes and stuff. And I think for some event groups that might work, but for throwing something that's it's strength, it's power, but at the same time it's technical. So you need to have your mind clear, and that's not going to work in that event. So if anything, you need to be super supportive and in a calm environment to where you can really execute technically. And then, of course, in the weight room, you can go crazy, you can go mad and stuff like that. But especially when it's time to go compete, you guys have to all have each other's back. So I stress being friends. Just be somebody that your teammates can rely on, and don't be an enemy that's wearing the same jersey. So that's something I take very, very seriously. And this, in high school I saw it, but at the same time we're, 15 to 18-year-olds, so nothing's really important. But in college, that's when it starts to get a little bit competitive, or people are more stressed out, or they're making life decisions and stuff like that. So it got a little cutthroat at times, but at the same time, I was able to find some of my friends they're going to be my friends for life on that track team. And we sort of hit it off automatically. Like, for example, there was one guy who he came on as an 18-year-old and he bench pressed 500 pounds. And I think part of my nature is I don't really get jealous or have fear of missing out or something like that. So I was in there and I was impressed with him. I never thought about myself, or my max at the time. I was just like, that's really good for you. So that's just something that I think it's just a roll of the dice. But I've always kind of been supportive and took to people that support me. And once we click, unless something catastrophic happens. So the friendship aspect is something I picked up in college, especially where it counted. And I think that's something I want to take in life and then teach the kids I coach.
Okay. So would you say, what would you say you miss mostly then, just competing on the collegiate level compared to now?
What I miss the most is the team aspect. So for example, if I go to a track meet now where it's just me, 3 throws, maybe 3 more throws. If they all go bad, then God forbid, that's kind of it. I can't get behind the triple jumper, or I can't, or there's not a stadium full of parents and friends and stuff like that are rooting for me as I got accustomed to in college. So it's just being individual is difficult, and I kind of miss that atmosphere because it's electric. You can feed off of it when you see people that they want you to do well, or them outside. Sometimes I'd have professors come to track meets, and they see me in a polo and I'm answering questions about law, and then next they see me throwing a ball out of the field house, and it's almost like it's fun to see their eyes light up so they can see me in a different context. But as a professional, I don't really get that opportunity unless there's the rare chance that it's like on TV or something. So I miss that the most. Just people watching and rooting for you.
Okay. So back in college, how much preparation did you put in, like before you compete? In terms of, did you actually, think much about the event, or you just kind of just go with the flow?
I so preparation was a huge thing for me. That's where my confidence kind of comes from. So the more I'm able to compete, the more I know the date that I need to, execute on. That kind of lets me know that I have chances to kind of get my act together, whether it's like staying in the ring or, just going through the motions so I can feel comfortable. Like basically when the track meet rolls around, it's just a dress rehearsal at that point. So I put a lot of time into it. So if there's a, conference championship coming on, I'm getting into shape like a month out, and that's physical and mentally. So I didn't have crazy rituals. I know for a little while I'd wear the same pair of black socks for competitions. Then
Okay.
I didn't have it, and then I still did well, so I threw that superstition out the window. So, but it's just preparation, just
Yeah.
doing drills, not fouling too much at practice and stuff like that, so that when I get to the comp, everyone tightens up and gets, the nerves and anxiety. That's part of it. It could actually
Yeah.
help if you channel it properly. So, but you don't want to freak out. You want to get that excited energy and then put it towards your event. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I got a question. I always say this question is for me, but this question is just something that I want to know myself. So throwers, you guys, how does the cycle of throwing, in terms of you guys' preparation, in terms of, always try to figure out, you got, obviously, we know for athletes, we go through the background training in the phase, and we just trying to build up endurance, and then we're starting to shorten the workout and pick up the speed. So for just to give us a perspective of, how is it different in terms of, the philosophy, in terms of your preparation in the breakdown of, the fall and the spring and the summer?
It's very similar. I think, and in doing some of my coaching education stuff, I'm seeing that it's pretty much the same philosophy across events or even across sports, to where you do the general preparation. That's going to be high reps, so a lot of volume, just so that you can be athletic, and you're almost front loading your, the physical, if it's endurance, or you're front loading the strength. So you're doing a lot of tonnage in the weight room. If there's hill running, you're doing that in the fall, and then you're not even focused on the drills so much until you've built an athletic base. So you do the base training, then you do a ton of drills as you're working towards the strength phase. And even then, you're not worried about how far things are going because you haven't done any speed work yet. So when you have that strength base, then you start to focus on some of the power building. And then there's a little bit more focus on how the throws are looking, how far they're going, stuff like that. And then you want to, incorporate some of that strength throughout the year until you taper off for some big meets. So
Okay.
you're building the pyramid all the way up to specific strength.
Okay. And let me ask you a bonus question before I go over to Dennis. So tell us about how much weights do you lift, and what's the, typically, I know that you're doing an event that required a lot of strength, in
Yeah.
terms of, trying to stay strong. Is it something that you guys pretty much lift for the whole entire season, if you can?
Yeah, the more access to weights, the better. But so for me as a smaller thrower, I rely a lot on strength. So my bench press max, for example, is 515. That's what I've done. I've done that as a max, but at times I've been a lot stronger. Even now, I'm a lot stronger than that. But as far as showing up, you want to do one rep and then call it a day. I've done 515. But even on my Instagram, I have a 500 touch and go, and I was getting ready for the World Championships. Squats, I've done 825, but again, I've been stronger than that. Deadlift, I've done 785. Clean and jerk, 185 kilos. And behind the neck jerk was 210 in kilos. So,
yeah. All right.
some of the
Well,
breakdown.
yeah. Well, I know you're letting out some of the tricks of the trade now. In terms of I
Well,
was looking at.
I'll
I
tell you
know
this
that's
though.
okay.
These are old numbers. So,
I was going to say everything is subject to change,
yeah.
in terms of that. But I want to show a little clip of you here. I don't know much about how much where you're hitting right here. Actually seeing it. This was a 505 bench press here that you did a couple years ago. And I'm going to bring you back a little bit. You could just tell us how did you feel before, and how did how good did it feel just to hit that
Yeah.
a little bit? All right, so I'm gonna share this here for a quick second. Yeah, all right, coming right here. Let's make sure we find the right one. Yeah, coming right now. Sorry, be a bit quicker this year. Um, should have been a bit quicker this year, but I think I might got the wrong video. Let's see. I might got the wrong video here. It's pretty quick. It's only almost 30. Yeah, it's pretty quick. Let me see if I could. Yeah, let's see. I get it real big. I need to get it bigger. All right. All right. So it should be coming now. It's so fast, but this year actually it was just showed to you because it's moving so fast that I don't know if I'm by the time I hit it, it's actually finished. Yeah, it's not able to get it. Then not able to get it. Not able to get it. It's going so fast. All right. Well, we'll come back to that in a second. I'll get that sorted out. Over to you, Dennis. I'm gonna work on that and put it together. Over to you, Dennis.
Yeah, I have. There are a lot of things to learn as an athlete. Um, uh, you earn a degree in law and society, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and we know that in itself is very daunting. Um, so you were able to juggle both track and field and academics, and we know you will find there are a lot of athletes there are a lot of people who might drop their sports when they're leaving high school because education take precedent, and we understand that because they
Mhm.
figure that they are not able to do both.
Sure.
We've been there, we have done it, but there are a lot of things you had to do to maintain both your book work and track and field in order to maintain your scholarship.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about that, and also um, when it comes to sportsmanship, how did that work for you?
Yeah. So first of all, the coaches would tell us that, if the grades aren't right, you're
Mm,
you're sitting out automatically. So that's the coaching staff headed by Jack Warner and then headed by Lonnie Green. They made sure the academic piece was first and foremost. So we didn't even think about being ineligible or having our grades slip. They also had study tables, which are mandatory. I think that's common in most big institutions anyway, to where they make sure that there's support staff, there's tutors, and things like that. So we took advantage of it, or they made us take advantage of it. So that was something that was I think, was very useful towards us juggling academics and athletics. But time management is always a big one, and it's almost cliche because that's what everybody says, but you only have so many hours in the day. So I knew that, once I got out of class, practice was in maybe 30 minutes. I had to get my meals, ready to go, or either eat on the go so that I can have the best training possible. And training can go, 2, 3 hours, and then you have your rehab at the end of it. Then it's dinner time. Then most athletes would want to have maybe a few hours in the day to themselves, but you had to do your homework or you had to study for the next exam. So just prioritizing your available time, maximizing your use of your weekend hours, those are things that I think kind of help me stay on both tracks and just be successful.
And those were some of the things that you kind of hone into in terms of learning. You learn most of that, how to manage your time properly. um,
Sure.
uh, and you know, coaching at a high school, you said earlier, right?
Yes.
um, how do you see what you have learned in high school, in college, in terms of teamwork, in terms of sportsmanship, in terms of time management? How do you see that helping you now as a coach in the working world? Because that's one of the things a lot of people don't really realize, how important it is to participate in sports.
hmm it's very important. So as far for me as a coach, it's important for me to have, first of all, get my work done as an athlete now, and then still have the availability and the focus to, coach in the later hours of the day. It's also another thing for me to have my students or student athletes focus on getting their classwork together or getting their extracurriculars together in order to be available for proper training or all the competitions that are coming up. So I think now I'm in almost a weird phase to where I'm not that far removed from school. Um, I'm doing the athletic stuff that most people can't relate to, and at the same time, I'm working as far as the coaching. So
Mhm.
I have a lot of different, avenues that you guys can relate to, but a lot of people can't. And I do try to impact that on the students.
Mhm. Uh, I know I have some more questions, but it's more towards Olympics. So I'm just going to turn it back over to Ian, and then he can start off with the head there.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna keep it. I think you have done really good for your collegiate career. Obviously, you have continued to train. So tell us, how did the decision? When did you? How much? How the decision was made when you finished college and you said, "Look, man, I want to continue to do this thing and go to the Olympics." When did you actually decide, and how easy that was for you?
Um, it was interesting because Coach McBride was sure that I'd go to the Olympics for the hammer throw up until my senior year when I started focusing on the shot put. So I knew I was going to go to the games, or I knew I was going to try to go to the games. And I'd been talking with him, I'd been talking with Coach Huffins a whole lot. And we weren't even thinking about if I'm going to try to do post collegiate, it's how I'm going to try to do post collegiate.
Okay.
So at that point, by the time I was a senior, it was a done deal that I was going to at least strive to be a professional. And yeah, they started talking about agents and stuff like that, and track meets, and prize money and all kinds of stuff that I had never thought about. Because as a student athlete, all you do is you go wherever they tell you to go, right? Your
Yeah.
decision making starts when you're in the ring, and then as you leave the ring, it's all up to somebody else. So
Mhm.
yeah, so that process was I think it was a couple years in the making. Even before I graduated, we'd been thinking
Okay.
about it. So
Okay.
and then I
All
had
right.
people that were interested, so they kind of just pushed me along the way.
I have a
Okay.
question. I have a question with that, Ian, if you don't mind. Again, we know that coming from your tribe, if you know, lack of a better word, but we know that again, education is very important, more so on your career and all that for the Igbo tribe, right?
hmm
Um, for you to focus on maybe making it to the Olympics and not going to take up law or anything to do with law and all that. How did that work? How were you able to convince your parents? I mean,
I had to have conversations with them, let them know that first of all, I had to let them know it was realistic. So, throwing 21 meters and the Olympic standard was, the world standard was 2070. That was kind of like, okay, you're not wasting your time, just because a lot of people, when they graduate, they love the sport, so they just don't want to give it up. But, they won't be anywhere near the level they have to be. So I think from both my parents, they saw that I had potential to be in that next level, and they would have definitely preferred for me to just go to work. But I think seeing how important it was to me, and then seeing that it was a realistic thing, was that was a deciding factor.
okay, great. Back to you, Ian.
All right, awesome. So now we're down to the post collegiate, which is it's very challenging, especially the first year, transitioning from college and not able to have a sponsor to support you. How difficult did you find your first year turning professional, and how did you able to actually make it to today, this point now, because the first year is very difficult.
I don't know how I made it, honestly. I don't, it was hard, but it's in the past, I guess. I honestly don't know. I remember going to Birmingham 2018. That was fall 2018, and for the indoor worlds, and I had like $350 in my bank account. I had to buy gas to go to practice and stuff. So I don't know. I have no idea how I made it, but it's just you had to. Okay, I do know how I made it though. You had to hustle. You had to hustle. So, for example, I remember. What's that?
No, go ahead. I just know that
Yeah.
where you have to work and get a job right after college, or you pretty much your parents help you out, or you have got some savings, something,
Yeah. So there's a little bit of that, a little bit of savings, and there was definitely some support, but at the same time, like your parents don't want to fund you being an athlete. That's defeating the purpose. You're an athlete as a job temporarily, and then you move on.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I remember. So that was March, and the meet didn't go well, and the Commonwealth Games was April.
Yeah.
So in between then, I ramped up my training, and I'd seen some protein bars laying around, a lot of protein bars. Took those protein bars, and the protein is a very important thing for a strength athlete. So those bars, in addition with my ramped up training, led me to throw very well in Australia, which led me to get a training grant, which propelled me further forwards. So it's just, a little right place at the right time and making some frugal decisions. And that was around the time when I started the actual coaching.
Okay. All right. So let's move back to 2017, and the reason why I want to go back there. Just tell us the first time you represent Nigeria. Wearing the Nigerian colors. Just the fact that that, yep, I am Nigerian, but it's always special when you're wearing the colors. I mean, I know your parents and just people that grew up with you. How did you feel during that time, and just kind of bring us back to just wearing the Nigerian colors for the first time?
Yeah, that was 2017 was the first time that so that was at the end of my first year post collegiately, and that meet was the World Championships in London. So that meet didn't go very well. I didn't make the final, which it wound up being a learning experience for the next Worlds, which was this past that 2019, which would be the best World Championships shot put ever. But there was a lot of pride, but at the same time, Nigeria is a tough country to represent. There's a lot of difficulties as far as management and just the professionalism and stuff like that. So it was very difficult. For example, I only had one jersey to wear. So like this past World Champs in Qatar, I wore the same jersey 2 days.
Mm.
It's not obvious, but being born and raised in a Nigerian household, I learned how to hand wash my stuff and then put it out to dry. So if you see in qualifying, I had chalk all over it as we normally do, and then I went to the hotel, hand washed it, and then hung it up to dry. So you never know where those things come in handy. So we didn't have a washing machine until I was, I don't know, maybe 17 or so. It would be somebody hand washing it. Sometimes my mom just, washing her school uniforms and stuff like that. So you pick that stuff up and you never know where it comes in handy.
All right.
So, but yeah, that was my first time representing Nigeria. It's difficult, but at the same time, I was overwhelmed with pride, and I didn't do as well as I wanted to, and I kind of use that as motivation for the subsequent meets when I put those colors back on to kind of redeem myself.
So definitely we can say that just the way you was raised, it just in your professional career and your professional life, you're able to take some of those early things that your parents teach you and just show you to actually now. So how much you think that have helped you, just the early things that you learn from your parents into your older life now? How much that have played a role into keeping you going?
I think it's definitely played a role. For example, my parents never really allowed me to quit on stuff. So, whether it's being on the team or, persevering through an injury or something like that, that perseverance was instilled on me for a long time, just since I was very little. And, knowing what they went through, they grew up during a civil war. So it's kind of like track is it's not a big deal compared to what really is important. And for them, it's survival. It's being able to provide. It's being able to thrive. Those things are more important than how fast you run or how far the ball goes. So I can prioritize things better because of their experiences and what they've imparted on me. So.
Okay. All right. So the 27th season. Let me back up a little bit. How did your 20th season? Obviously, I know your goal is to go to the Olympics. You weren't there in 2016. Can you bring us back and just tell us how disappointed that was, or what was the main reason for you not being at the 2016 Olympics? The,
you
give me a short. You just give me a nice short.
Yeah. So to be fair, I think I was in shape to throw that 2050 that I needed, but going to Nigeria was my first time going to Nigeria to compete. And competitions in Nigeria are a little bit different than in America. At least in America, you can rely on a ring that looks like a ring, toe board to stop you and for your health and things like that. And in Nigeria, those things are kind of overlooked. So I went to that meet. So terrible ring, no toe board, and it was pouring rain. Now, the unfortunate thing is the rain started at around 3 o'clock. The meet was supposed to go on at 1 o'clock, but by 1 o'clock the officials were eating, so they postponed it for a couple hours. Then there was a torrential downpour, and then we were to start throwing to try to make the Olympic Games. So, of course, I didn't make it, and yeah, it was nerve-wracking. It was just an awful experience. So,
all right. Well, guys, as I said, I hope with what you're sharing with us, as I said, I hope that will bring some light to somebody, that in terms of expectation and what to look forward, in the future. We know that there are many Nigerian parents, Nigerian-born athletes, even here in the U.S. that might want to follow your footsteps, one day. So, we're happy for you to share that, and we know that I know for the next Olympics that won't be a problem, because you're gonna make sure you have the distance before you get over there. in terms of the qualification, because if you have got the qualification, it wouldn't have mattered at the time. So 2017. We're just going to move up to the 2018. Obviously, you start up with the World Indoor. That didn't go good. You know, you have obviously the World Indoor and the Commonwealth was probably a month apart because I
Yeah.
remember, you know, it was in Australia. So you know, actually, I just said was a bit disappointed, but you bounced back at the Commonwealth Games. So
Mhm.
just tell us a little bit about going to competing for Nigeria for the second time, going to the Commonwealth game, and just tell us how much did you enjoy the competition? Just for the viewers, you have won the first medal for Nigeria in a major competition in the shot put. So that got to be big. And how did the people from Nigeria? How did people you know reach out to you, and how did that make you feel? So just tell us
Yeah.
about a little bit about the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah. So Commonwealth Games, that was honestly, even till today, one of my best experiences in track and field. Just everything about it. Going to Australia in the first place. So it was a crazy trip there. I think it was 31 hours of travel. It didn't have to be quite that long, but it wound up being 31 hours with the,
Okay.
flying to the other side of the world and everything. When we got there, it was beautiful. The whole village they built in Gold Coast was awesome. And then they were in charge of everything. So shuttling, the food, practice times, the lodging, everything was on point because it was such a major. It's basically like an Olympics for the Commonwealth countries. And if the actual Olympic Games is anything like that, I'm gonna have a great time because they took it so seriously. The food was great, um, and the best thing about that was all leading up to it, I was training outside. So in Indiana, it gets cold, and the cold doesn't go away till around April. So even as of March, I was working out with my teammate, and we're throwing in 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Sometimes we're throwing and it's snowing. So by the time I got to Australia, then it's warm outside. Naturally, the ball is going a meter, a meter and a half farther than what we've seen in practice. So I was able to do that. I hadn't thrown 20 meters up until that point, all season. So I go there for the qualifier. It was the very first throw I threw 2060, made the final, and I hadn't qualified for a final. So I was getting ready to take a second throw. I didn't know you're cut off as soon as you hit the standard. So that shows you my inexperience at that point. So I was getting ready to grab my ball, and the official was like, "No, no, no, you made it. Have a seat. We're gonna take you back to the to the lodging." So that was a fun one. And then again, it was my first time making a final, so I wasn't expecting to have to come back the next night and compete again. So by the time I got there, I think it was 8 p.m. and I'm getting Charlie horses, cramping up. I'm sore from the previous day, but the adrenaline's going. So the national coach, Gabe Lapointe, he was basically playing cheerleader at that point. There's nothing technical you can change, but he's getting me right mentally. So I threw the first one. It's like 20 meters or so, got me into the final. And he's like, I think you got more in you. You got a little bit more. So I threw another one. It was like 20 high, and he's like, it's like I see 21. So he's kind of egging me on. So I threw one. I knew it was my last hard effort that I could give, and it wound up being 21:14. I might have been like 6 inches behind Tom Walsh, who wound up taking gold. So I took the silver, and then just kept swinging. I had three more throws, so swing for the fences at that point. But 21:14 was a PB at that moment, and then I wound up with the silver medal. And as I'm doing an interview, I'm just bawling because of all this stuff. Just
Ah,
the lead up to, people don't know the background, but I think they're just happy that they thought I was happy that I got the silver, but it was like it was a lot more than that. And my girlfriend and stuff like that, just you know, everyone was as stressed as I was in order to to help me get to this point. So I think
yeah.
all of it just kind of came out at that moment. But yeah, even till now, that's one of my highlights of my career.
Well, I know Dennis could talk about that. He won a silver medal in the Atlanta Olympics, and I know that always got to be special to actually to accomplish, as I said, on any level, we know that Olympics, most people are familiar with the Olympics all over the world. So, they will, actually, they call everything the Olympics. So, in terms of the track and field, but we
Mhm.
know that, the only individual medal that I ever won was in the Commonwealth Games. So for many viewers that don't know about the Commonwealth Games, as I said, it's pretty much, as one of my friends said, it's all the countries except US and what's that? Probably US, except US and Europe.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. US and Europe. We got Great Britain, probably is the only European country, but we have Africa, Australia, we got the Caribbean, we got Canada, so that's pretty much it. And the Commonwealth Games has grown tremendously over the years, and we know that you're looking forward to actually do better the next Commonwealth Games, which is going to be in Birmingham, in the
Mhm.
UK. I believe it's next year. So yeah, we got a lot of track and field to talk about. So, but yeah, but I just happy for you to share the feeling with the games, the Commonwealth Games, with us winning your first individual medal. Where do you pretty much do you show off your medal? Where do you show off your medal now?
I keep them all stored away, so I don't have like a display case or anything. At least not for now.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so
okay,
that medal is still in this case. It's got a nice like hand carved wooden case in it. They went all out for that meet, so it's still
okay,
in there
okay.
and it's secured.
Okay. So Dennis, he probably we don't know where Dennis kept his medal. I know if you don't want to say it on this live, somebody gonna come and take it. But
I know, man. Actually, it's one of the most important medal. It's not even so the others are just hanging around, but that one particular medal is somewhere special. Um,
okay.
but let me ask you, why didn't you compete for the US? Because I hear you talk about when you went to Nigeria, it was raining and there was the
Well,
rain and all that.
stop. Let me stop you there. I learned that after, so I
Uh-huh.
didn't I didn't know that before the fact. But
Okay.
even still, I'm sure my parents would have preferred me to represent Nigeria. Um,
Mhm.
Now that I say that, though, I think they're upset that I was upset about my first experience, even though now it's working out. But it's I don't know. It was a difficult decision after it was already made. But as
Mhm.
far as I was in college and stuff, yeah, I knew I wanted to go to Nigeria just because America didn't need me as far as shot put. Even if I was there now, I'd be the number 4 guy. So it's like
Mhm.
it's not necessary per se that I'd be on a U.S. team, but Nigeria could always definitely use some firepower in the shot put.
Right, right. That's good. It's much easier to make the Nigerian team as opposed to the US.
It is, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So one I think that we know is that making it to the Olympic Games is pretty much every athlete's big dream or their goal is to make it to the Olympics. And you first represent Nigeria internationally. I think you said it earlier in 2017. But prior to 2017, you chased after the Olympic Games qualification in the shot put, and that the shot put at that time you said it earlier too. It was 20.50,
Hmm.
20.50 meters, and you managed to put the best of 20.45.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
I want you to kind of expound on that. And the questions that I want to ask you comes in three folds. One, tell us how you overcame the pain of not making the national team because you're so close, but yet you're so far away.
Yeah. So the thing is also there was the automatic standard, which was 20.5, and then there was also the world ranking, which was top 32 that went. So I think at the time I was at 2045, like you said, but I was ranked number 30 or 31. So I was almost certain that I was going to be able to go at the end of the qualification period, but Nigeria was like, you get the standard or not. And then when I went to Nigeria, those conditions were absolutely awful. So I think that a lot of the emotion was because of that, because I knew that there was a chance of me going even to the last minute, but with it not panning out, it was difficult. It was really difficult.
Yeah. So the other question I want to ask is, what advice would you give to athletes out there who see themselves getting so close but yet so far away?
One thing that was good for me is I refocused. So I was in my living room with the family. I was watching the Olympic Games on TV, and it was something that I didn't sulk for too long. So yeah, I felt bad about the situation. Felt bad about my performance and that I wasn't able to accomplish what I wanted to. But I said by hook or by crook, 2020 Olympics, I'm going to be there. And then COVID. So, you're not always in control, but at the same time, I think don't get mad, get better was what was going through my head. And it's something I did that even though, obviously the Olympics are in the air for now, but that mindset is what made me a consistent 21-meter thrower, 21 high thrower, medal winner at several major championships and things like that. It was the fact that I didn't look at 2016 and say, okay, well, that was my shot, and then I'm done. So, because 4 years in the future, that's a long, long time, especially when you're like, when you're 22, 23 years old. It's like, what's going to happen in 4 years? And it's true, what's going to happen in 4 years, but you have to kind of have faith in yourself and give yourself another chance. And the people around you, I think it's very important that they pick you up. And I had a very supportive group of people around me. So I think my advice to give somebody else who was so close yet so far away is look at the people around you for support, and then don't feel too bad about yourself for too long. Just get back at it.
All right, so that answers my last question. So at the World Championship, you were not able to win a medal, correct?
At the 2017?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Well, I didn't
So
make the final.
you didn't make the final, but considering you had recorded some great throws leading up to the games, would you equate your performances to the lack of international experiences, or what would you how would you describe that? Is it because you didn't have enough international experience? Is it because you didn't have a what?
Yeah, well, that's part of it. I didn't have international experience. I didn't have a coach there. I didn't just a lot of stuff. It was just me dumped in that scenario, sink or
Oh,
swim. So, but as far as physical fitness and stuff, I was pretty fit. I was working with one of the U.S. coaches after the actual meet, and I was throwing 20 highs and stuff like that in practice. But I think it's a different story than when there's 60,000 people there and you have all these rules on the field that you're not used to or you've never seen before. So that was my first crack at it, and it was a swing and a miss. But again, just refocus. I knew that it was inexperienced, and to get experience, you just need time.
great. Over to you, Ian.
All right. Well, just to follow up a little bit, obviously, as I said, Chuck in 2017 at the World Championship, that was his first time representing Nigeria. First big international meet, so just was getting out there. Obviously, you always want to perform the best at the highest level, but we could move back to 2019, when he went back to the World Championship. He was in the final. Big improvement to 2017, and I'm sure that he's probably still was not completely happy. For
No, no, no.
several.
I was actually very happy because
Okay.
at that meet I was, and I still am dealing with a very serious injury. So that was asking a lot of me to go
Okay.
and take some big swings at the World Championships.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the 29th season, because the 29th season has been, your to date has been your best season in my opinion. In track and in just competing, you have actually break the national record around 3 times, and you have actually opened up the season. Well, now you have started the season off pretty much on a high note. You traveled all the way to Brazil in 2019. That was in May. You throw 21.77 in the shot. Bring us back, because you actually, you was competing with pretty much one of the top 3 best throwers in the world. I think is Domain Romain or something. Forgive me. But the Brazilian shot put thrower. You actually went to his home country in Brazil and was able to come out victorious. So I know that got to be disappointing for him. But just tell us about how did you feel about that performance? Were you surprised of throwing that far, or you actually knew that you was ready to throw a PB?
I knew I was ready to throw a PB. At that point, I had training throws that were about half a meter farther.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of time before I dropped something that was in that range. But as far as going to Brazil and doing it against one of the top guys and stuff like that, it's huge. It was a huge confidence boost. But it's something you don't really think about it till after it's done. So going there was just another track meet. I had to execute, do my own thing. Darlan was going to do his own thing. All the other guys are going to do their thing. But after it was all said and done, it's like, because I think I realized it was a national record when it finally showed on the screen, because I'd only beaten it by 1 centimeter. It was until August that I put several centimeters on it. But I beat it by 1 centimeter. I was like, all right, that's a good throw. And then I realized that's over 70 feet, which is, in America, that's a big deal, throwing 70 feet. So that meet was 71.5, I believe. And it was just a good experience. But going there, I just wanted to execute for myself. It was very early in the season also. So I wanted to get out, get a good mark, and hopefully get into some meets, improve my world ranking and stuff like that. And it worked out.
Okay. So after that meet, literally, I know your goals probably was changed in terms of what you're targeting. What distance literally you believe within yourself that you was capable of throwing in 2019? I know I just said you was you improved several meters after that 21.77 during the season. I know that you did not throw your best at the World Championship, but you made the final. And I said I know that there was some injury and some setbacks that comes with with competing and throwing. But just tell us realistically, in your opinion, what number were you targeting, and how far you think you could have thrown in 2019?
Well, if I didn't get hurt, 22.
Okay.
So, yeah, 22 and a quarter, maybe 22.30, something like that. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, even when I threw 21.80, that was in
Yeah. I think we'll lose Chuck for a second. I'm not sure if he's hearing us. Are you hearing me, Dennis?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so I think he will be yeah. But in the meantime, as I said, he should be coming right back. He has a little yeah, here he is now. It's rebooting now. So here we go. So yeah, here we go. We lost it for a second, but he's back now. Are you hearing us clear, Chuck? All right, good. So yeah, I wanted you to yeah, I know what I got here. 22.30, somewhere around that range. You think you was capable of throwing. I know at the World Championship, those guys pretty much throw 22 high, in the shot. So literally, you still got some work to do, in terms of, in the position in terms of distance that you're capable of winning a medal. But just bring us back. Obviously in Doha, you have made the final. You have, it was a good feel. It's probably one of the best shot put event in a long time. Tell us a little bit about what was the dynamics around the event itself, because I know that you guys are not like sprinters. You guys has a lot more friendly. Um, was that a friendly competition out there in Doha when you guys was throwing?
I mean, yeah, for me, it was a normal competition, and I think it was high powered because it's worlds, but it was a normal competition. Just everyone was just in the best shape that they could be in October of 2019. So it was a normal track meet.
All right. Well, that's pretty much, as I said, as a professional athlete and a thrower, we try to each meet. It's kind of you compete against the same guys. You don't really see it something different. But for the fans that's watching it, they probably hasn't been watching you all year. So they're looking at it and they'll be like, man, all these guys are throwing. And I know it got to be a little bit more excitement knowing that you got in a bigger stadium and the whole world is watching, you at the same time in terms of, just from a spot night, everybody from Nigeria going to be tuning in, and, you're going to be doing a lot more interviews, and just the whole atmosphere, got to be incredible. I know that's what it's going to be like for the Olympics, because the Olympics is really every 4 years, and that's really a long time to actually. You don't know what the next 4 years is going to be, So,
Right.
but for that, but obviously, you have made the final in the World Championship. You have ended up in the top 8 in the World Championship. How much that have motivate you for the? I know we didn't have a 2020 season, but just looking back in 29, how motivated were you just looking towards the 2020 season? Now we're in 2021, but for the following season.
Um, I think at that point, because again, you can't forget the fact that it was October. So at that point, I was just ready to be done for a little while, take a break, try to get healthy. So, but the hunger is back like it should be, and I want to do my best. I'm seeing some promising throws. I still have to deal with my body's different after that injury, and I have to change some things about the way I approach competitions and the way I approach training and stuff. But I'm seeing some very promising distances in training, and it's a learning experience for now. But I think the measuring tape is going to tell me how much longer I have, and if the ball is still going, then I'm still going, and if the ball is not going, then it's time to look elsewhere. So,
All right.
yeah.
Well,
but as of right
we
now,
know.
I'm very
Yeah.
motivated, and
All right.
yeah.
Well, we know that's 2019. We only, from having one of the best seasons, you have made history all over, for Nigeria and everything that you do, from the Diamond League to the Commonwealth, to the World Championship, you have made history. So we know that, actually, let's talk about probably one of the highlights of your career also. You know, winning the African Championship title. And I said 2019 was just a lot you have accomplished. Because you also, as I said, I've it's like yeah, you have competed against a lot more of the African countries, and just to know that you are the African record holder, you pretty much when you look back, that's a big accomplishment to knowing that you have been the icon right now. You are the target, and all the little kids in school and back in Nigeria, they're gonna be looking at you as the name that in the history books. So just give us a little how does that make you feel from a personal standpoint?
No, that's a great it's a great accomplishment, a great moment, and I'm happy that I was in shape to win the championship in 18 and in 19, and just hoping that it happens again in 21. Just these are great moments, things that can't be taken away from me, and I just keep hoping to build on it. But as far as the impact, I'm still in the moment, so it's almost hard to really see the outside perspective of it. But there's a lot of pride that comes with it, and I know all the guys that compete now. I know a lot of the coaches, and that kind of, I guess, significance to that place. I'm going to appreciate it when I'm done a lot more. But even now, I can kind of I can feel that pride. So it's an awesome thing to be a part of.
All right, awesome. Well, make sure you put those medals away because trust me, they're gonna you know, I done the same thing when I was competing. I don't think I'm hanging anything up. I mean, I just kind of put them away in a box, and after I retired, that's when they really turned a display for me because I was no longer able to run. So I just have to go back to the memory to say, look, this is what it was able to do. So that's wonderful. So moving up in the final quarter right now, or the final stage of the interview, I want to talk a little bit about. We know that you was training real good, looking forward to 2020. Just tell us how you're doing and how disappointed were you not able to compete in 2020. Knowing that you pretty much gonna be training for 2 years for the Olympics now instead of one. How are you doing, and how your preparation going, and just tell us how disappointed were you, if you were.
Is he frozen again?
Yeah, I think that he is having a little challenge here. So yeah, he should be coming right back. So let me. I do believe he have got the question. So yeah. All right, here we go. So yep. So back to here we go, Chuck. I'm not sure if you have heard my question, but we're having a bit of something with frozen internet. So I'm not sure. But you're muted right now. Let me. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I'm not sure. You're muted, Chuck. You're muted. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So we're back now. I'm not sure how much of the question you have heard, but just wanted to figure out about your expectation, how 2020 season, how much that have affect you, if it did, and how are you doing right now, knowing that you're training 2 years for the Olympics?
It's difficult. The virus took a big toll on everybody, as far as training facilities and stuff. For example, this past from mid-November to just 2 Fridays ago, I was practicing outside. So I was, and I'm from New York, so I went home a little bit, and I'm still training in Indiana. So all I saw was weather between 32 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So that, the virus has affected me in that way, but I'll still get my throws in, still lifting at public gyms and stuff like that. And, now I'm just full steam ahead trying to have a regular season for 2021. So I didn't miss any time. I kept at it. Sometimes I have to see the ball go, almost 10 feet shorter than where it should be because my body is frozen the whole time. But I think it's worth it, when it comes to getting your reps in and just having your technique down. So hopefully, this next few meets that I have indoors, we'll see some good distance. I think it's even possible to have a PB, and we'll just have to see what happens. But there's a lot of variables, a lot more than in usual years, and I'm sure a lot of people are going through the same thing. So, I'm finding a way to show up to practice 5 days a week and get it done somehow. So hopefully it pays off.
Well, what I've noticed, we're looking for a lot of records to break this year. It might seem that the COVID, in terms of competition, but we actually seen a world record last night in the men's triple jump indoor. So one of the things that we realized, for the people who are not effective, some people are able to train constantly for 6 months, and you know that the race is winning training. So if you're able to put good quality training, because sometime with the tough schedule, sometimes interact your training. So you got to break, and you can't really get a good set of training in. But I would not be surprised to see you actually even surprise yourself, just going out there, because, yeah, you might be, you might think that, well, I'm not competing, but as I said, I know the race is winning training, and we're seeing it that last year, the world record almost was broken in the 400 hurdles. And we see a world indoor record in the triple jump for women, and now we're seeing a world indoor record for the triple jump for men. And you might see, well, how did they break a record and they're not competing? But some people are able to train. They have a good facility. They're not really get affected by the pandemic. It's less distraction, and they don't have anything to do.
That's very true.
Yeah. So that's the positive thing, from in terms of the sport. Now, we're saddened that many people have lost their life, and many people have lost friends and family and loved ones, and there's a lot of coaches. There's just every month there's something that just very hard to deal with, in terms of if in the track and field community or in the regular community. But it's we're praying that we could get over this COVID, and we're looking forward to see you back in competition. We're looking forward for great things from you. So just for you, just for the viewers, for this season, other than there's anything that you was able to do in terms of training differently that you didn't get to do more? I know you're lifting. Are we up to about 600 on the bench press now?
No, we're not. But we're doing a lot of speed work. So
Okay.
because of the lockdown, the preparation phase ran a lot longer. So
Okay.
we didn't do maxes per se, but we did high weight and high rep. So now it's getting some speed work and just trying to get the ball to go. So we gotta switch plans, every now and again, and that's kind of where we're at now. But
Okay.
yeah, some weights are being moved.
All right. So other than your parents, who were some of your early role models that you really just admire and you draw inspiration from, on the track or off the track?
You mean in real life or just like
Yeah,
characters?
in real life.
Honestly, I think it's just my parents because only my immediate family is in America. Everyone else is in Nigeria, so most of my family I don't know. I only met my grandparents one time on my mother's
Okay.
side. So.
Okay. All right. So what's the best advice you received from your mom, and the best advice you think you received from your dad?
That's tough. I don't know. It's something along the lines of just persistence. So my mom always tells me to do my best. So it's not necessarily the best, but strive for it. And what's important is that I put my best foot forward. And then I think my dad is more of the, silence the haters kind of person. Like, don't read the comments and don't pay attention to these guys, because if you're doing something right, then you're gonna have people hating on you. So.
All right. All right. Over to you, Dennis. You could get any final thoughts in, and for Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck, how are you being treated now by by the Nigerian delegation, the Nigerian Olympic Committee, and all that?
Well, I think they're good people. Um, the high expectations, but they don't treat me badly. I can say that. It's just was that?
So do you still regret not competing for the US? Or are you
No,
okay?
at this point, I think I'm I'm so far along. I don't even think about it anymore. And don't get me wrong. I am proud to be a Nigerian athlete. To
Mhm.
represent the country and stuff like that. It's just that I think there would be a little bit more support if I was in a different country. So
Okay.
yeah,
Um,
it's just the
so
money and material things. That's the
yeah.
that's the difference, to be honest.
Mhm. So do you see, I know you're coaching now, do you see any prospective athletes that you think maybe will one day make the Olympic team or maybe represent their country in some meets or something?
Right now is difficult. No, because COVID happened, so I had a few promising athletes um, coming into the 2020 season, and then their whole career got chopped off, and then they had to go off to college. So now we're starting from scratch in the 2021 season. So, but in the past, I've seen some really good athletes. I had one, so I coached one guy that wound up playing football at Purdue, and he's most likely going to go to the NFL. And I have one girl that wound up being recruited by Purdue, and then one girl that got recruited by Grand Valley State. She's also Nigerian. So if she's interested enough, but she's 6 feet, so basketball might be in her future.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I have one final question for you. What is one advice that you would give to someone out there for maybe an athlete that is getting discouraged, especially right around this time with COVID and all that? Um, they're kind of losing hope. They don't have the drive like you had when you take two train and one bus and all that. They don't have that kind of drive. What
Yeah.
is one thing, or what would you say to that athlete who really love the sports, but you know?
Yeah, it sounds cliche, but just keep at it. That today is terrible, but tomorrow might be better. And just to stay hopeful, because there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And again, all this stuff sounds cliche, but for example, I'm throwing 5 feet farther than I was last month, and that's because I took those reps last month. you know,
Yeah.
so it's a matter of staying at it, staying persistent, and being as positive as you can. So when you watch your own video or you get coaching or something like that, look on the positive side of it, because this sport is hard enough as it is. Even if there was no COVID and people were allowed to train where they were normally training and were able to compete where they normally were, and money wasn't an issue, you know, it still would be difficult just because of the nature of it. You want to be as fast as physically possible when they tell you to be. You want to throw as far as physically possible when they tell you. So that's asking a whole lot of the human body, and it's physically going to take a toll. Mentally, it's going to take a toll. So you have to be on the positive side of things. Otherwise, you're gonna break down mentally. So be
Mhm.
positive and be persistent. I think that's going to get people through.
Great. And before we end, I want to try and pronounce your name one last time. I hope I don't do it any damage, you know.
All right. Well, we give you a chance to do that, Dennis. In a second, you could practice it in your head because I was practicing it in my head. When you switch and it come back to me,
Yeah.
So obviously I got some work to do.
Yeah.
With that. So Chuck, let's talk about what are your goals and your as an athlete. What's your goal right now? What you like to accomplish? um Personally, as a just looking on the outlook for you as a Nigerian shot putter, and just for a kid that grew up in New York, and for everything, what would you love to accomplish? What would you want to be on your resume when you look back on it one day?
Oh, I want to be an Olympian. That's first and foremost. That OLY at the end of my name, that's going to be very important. And then, we'll see as far as distance goes. I'm the type that's whatever is necessary is what I want to do. I want to be in that mix. I want to be on top of that mix. But if people are throwing 10 feet, then I want to be throwing 10 feet. If people are throwing X, I want to be throwing X. So um, relevancy is very important to me as well. So whatever the distance is, it's a sliding scale. It always moves. So wherever it's going, I want to be going in that direction as well. But I want to be an Olympian when it's all said and done.
All right. All right, thanks for that. And I want to ask you also in regard into what's one question about your coaching. In your version, and you could be a little bit biased. How being a current shot putter that's still growing and still working at your craft, how does that make you a better coach? How we would say that helps you to be a better coach?
It helps because I know what it's like to be taking cues or to be not criticized but critiqued as far as what I'm doing in the ring or in the weight room. So I know how to take coaching, and being able to take it, I'm able to give it as well. In the same way that a person that can follow can lead. I think it's the same situation. And then if you even as far as technically, sometimes I'm explaining things to the athletes that I might have forgotten or overlooked. It's maybe the basics, like turn your right foot before you leave the ground, something like that. And if I'm helping them on a Tuesday, maybe when I go back on Thursday to practice, I'm like, well, maybe I should focus on turning that foot. And it's something you don't think about all the time, but it's helpful. So sometimes you get to relearn what you forgot, and then you get to see the other side of the coin. Because as a coach, you can say, everyone jump off that bridge, and they'll do it. You know what I mean? But as an athlete, I can understand that, hey, sometimes you have to communicate properly. You have to be able to read people and stuff like that. So those are some. It gives me balance. I think is the greatest benefit.
Okay. Would you say that you know there were any tough challenge in just being a just being an athlete, just in terms of coaching, is that makes it challenging sometimes knowing that you know how to do something and you're training somebody to do it, or how do you deal with that?
That part of it is not too bad because I know everyone has a different set of skills. So I Coach Huffins always told me don't coach autobiographically. So
Okay.
it's not like, hey, you know, I can do X, so you should be able to do X. It's never been like that. So, I'm not gonna impose my personal best or my qualities on the next person because there's a reason that I'm in the sport, and that's because of my strengths. And my strengths are not the next person's strengths. So I think I heard it enough to where I was able to really internalize it, and I can practice that with my athletes.
All right, awesome. And this here, I want to throw this in there. If you was, how would you celebrate a great performance? If I see some of what you do, in 2019. But what's the ideal thing you have to do if I said, look, Chuck, put on a show here, and we're going to give you the American Express credit card.
Well, so if I do a big throw, in the past I've done cartwheels, I've done jumping toe touches, or I've taken like a unnecessarily long lap around. So I think that's one thing you'll see me do. You definitely see me take a long lap around and do some sort of gymnastics, maybe maybe a cartwheel.
All
And
right, all right,
yeah,
all right, awesome. Any final word, Dennis?
No, it was a pleasure talking to you, man.
I appreciate it.
Happy
Same.
I was a part of this interview. Great job. I wish you all the best. I know
Appreciate it.
with the type of drive that you have, I have no doubt not to believe that you won't be successful. I almost
Appreciate
I
that.
almost could have cloned you as a Jamaican athlete. Uh, that is the type of attitude a lot of the Jamaican athletes have, whether they have a good pair of shoe or not, whether they have a spikes, whether they come from in the bushes, in the woods, wherever they live, because they want it so badly, they will do whatever it takes, whether it, you know, three buses or boom a ride here or there. So you have that type of drive, and I'll be looking out for you, expecting great things from you, man.
I appreciate that. It means a lot. Really
All
means a
right.
lot.
All right, Chuck, you're going to the final question that closed the show out. That I always ask. How you want to be remembered when you retire from athletics? What would you want people to know about Chuck? Just from your perspective.
Yeah, I want to be known as a consistent athlete. But the funny thing is, in the age of social media, you're more accessible nowadays. And whenever I open up a questions forum, people ask me, "How do you throw far as a smaller athlete or as a shorter athlete?" So I think there's a niche there for me to let people know that it's possible not to be the biggest person. You don't have to be 6'6" and 300 pounds to throw far. So, if I'm sort of a champion of the smaller thrower, I'm fine with that.
All right. All right. Thank you for that, Chuck. And as I said, really now gonna say I thank you for spending the last 2 hours on your Sunday evening just for us to learn a little bit about how everything all started. Just give us a little history of of you, and to learn more about you and your culture and your journey, and also what we're looking forward for in 2021. I want to wish you best of luck, man. In your everything that you do in your competition. I really believe that you has a breakthrough coming for you, because you've been you're not quite where you want to be, but I know for sure that it's just a matter of time. With you just get in the groove and just get with that, you could compete it with anybody in the world. So we I want to wish you all the best,
Appreciate it.
and yeah, and stay safe. And we'll be looking out for you in Tokyo. The guys, look out for Chuck in Tokyo. About to go there and make history. He already qualified for the Olympics, so it's not a guess or spell if you're gonna see him. He- he's already qualified for the Olympics. The only thing could stop him is if there's no flight going to Tokyo, or but he will be there. So that OLY will be in his name, with health and strength, and with everything that God protection and thing. We want to say that. And before I close, I know I should have mentioned it in the beginning, that we just want to give a shout out on the Dr. Martin Luther King Day. We know that from a civil rights perspective, you have all the work that you have done, and all the good thing you have done for us. For us to be here, here today, just doing things that we're doing. So that's said and done. If any other final word, you can say it, or
Yeah, I want to try and pronounce that name. Is it
okay.
um Chawabuk Chawabuk Chawebuka Eniwiche?
Yeah, not quite. It's
Yeah.
Chukwuebuka
Oh,
Enekwechi.
Should
Chukwe. I
should
got
be,
you.
should be
Yeah.
Chukwe.
book. You know. Well, I know Dennis. He's an educator. He's. I know he's a teacher, and as a teacher right now, how important it is,
Oh yeah.
to get names and to learn names and to remember names. So I'm sure that I don't know if he has come across any Nigerian, in his classroom as yet, but I'm sure that will happen one day.
Yeah, I'm sure it will, man. All right, take care, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
All right,
Thanks.
all right, all right. Thanks.